I am the witness, a keeper of truths lost to time. Some stories are meant to be forgotten, for the horrors they reveal are too great to bear. This is the story of Dr. Samuel Roth, a man driven by love, guilt, and ambition. It is also the story of Evelyn West, his closest friend, who tried to stop him before it was too late. But some things, once begun, cannot be undone. Dr. Samuel Roth had once been a renowned scientist, respected for his groundbreaking work in the fields of genetics and bioengineering. But that was before the incident. Before the night, everything changed. His wife, Margaret, and his young daughter, Lily, had been taken from him in the most cruel and senseless way. A thief had broken into their home, intent on stealing anything of value. When Margaret had tried to stop him, the thief panicked and killed both her and Lily, leaving Samuel to find their bodies in the aftermath. The police had called it a tragic robbery gone wrong, but Samuel could not accept that. He could not live with the knowledge that he had failed to protect the two people he loved most. Grief consumed him, but his mind, sharp and relentless, refused to let go of one thought. What if he could bring them back? For months, Samuel buried himself in his research, ignoring his own needs, losing himself to the idea of resurrection. It started with small experiments, reanimating tissue, using advanced techniques to stimulate cell growth. But that was just the beginning. He needed something more, something that would bring Margaret and Lily back in their entirety. That's when Evelyn West, his old colleague and longtime friend, began to notice the changes. She had always been wary of Samuel's obsession with the dead, but when he started to speak of bringing people back to life, she knew she had to intervene. Evelyn had known Samuel before the tragedy, before the darkness consumed him. She remembered the man he had been, brilliant, compassionate, but always a little too consumed by his work. But this was something else entirely. She warned him, she pleaded with him to stop. "You can't undo death, Samuel," she told him one night as they sat in his lab, the hum of machines echoing in the background. "Even if you bring them back, they won't be the same. It's not the kind of science you're meant to practice." Samuel had smiled, his eyes distant. "I have to try, Evelyn. You don't understand. I have to bring them back." Evelyn didn't argue further, but she feared the worst. And when she received a call that Samuel had succeeded in resurrecting Margaret and Lily, albeit in a grotesque, unnatural form, she knew she had to act before things went too far. The day Samuel showed Evelyn the results of his work, she almost couldn't believe her eyes. Margaret and Lily stood before her, their faces pale and gaunt, their bodies stiff and unnatural. They were alive, sort of, but something was terribly wrong. Their eyes were hollow, their movements jerky, like marionettes controlled by invisible strings. They weren't the people they had once been. Samuel's voice was filled with excitement, but there was a madness in his eyes that made Evelyn's blood run cold. "I brought them back. I did it. I can bring anyone back. You can see it for yourself." Evelyn took a step back, her heart heavy with dread. "Samuel, this isn't them. This isn't your wife and daughter." But Samuel couldn't hear her. He was lost in his triumph, blinded by his obsession. And it was then that she realized just how far he had fallen. The bodies of his creations, the shells of his loved ones, had become something else entirely. It wasn't long before the true horror of Samuel's actions revealed itself. The more they were exposed to the world, the more they began to lose what little humanity they had left. Their bodies decayed rapidly, their minds fragmented and twisted. They were hostile, driven by a hunger they couldn't control. Samuel tried to contain them, to protect them from their own degradation, but it was too late. His creations were a nightmare unleashed upon the world. Evelyn knew they had to be destroyed. Together, Evelyn and Samuel fought back against the monstrous creations of his own making. The house, once a home filled with love, had become a battleground. Samuel's mind was clouded by guilt and desperation, but Evelyn remained focused. "I warned you, Samuel," she said, holding up a weapon she had crafted, a serum designed to destroy the artificial life Samuel had created. "This ends now." Margaret and Lily, their faces twisted in anguish, advanced on them, growling like wild animals. But Evelyn was resolute. With one swift movement, she injected the serum into each of the creatures, watching as their bodies began to break down, crumbling to dust in seconds. Samuel fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted them back. I wanted them to be with me again." Evelyn knelt beside him, her expression softening despite the horror they had just witnessed. "I know, Samuel, but some things cannot be undone." The two of them survived that night, but the events they had lived through would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Samuel was never the same again. The guilt of what he had done weighed heavily on him. Evelyn stayed by his side, helping him rebuild what little was left of his life. But the shadows of the past would never leave them. And though they were both still alive, they knew the cost of meddling with life and death. Some things are not meant to be changed. Some lives are meant to stay lost, and some souls are meant to rest. I am the witness, and I have seen what happens when people try to defy the natural order. The price of resurrection is always too high.